probably not hard to agree that during the weight loss efforts, it's a lot easier to get it wrong than it is to get it right. The good news is there is enough similar between us humans to draw an outline that we can all fit into to promote what a positive relationship with food looks like. So let's start with looking at the 7 different traits, healthy relationships with food, so we can better recognize opportunities to be as much like this as we can to improve our bodies and our lives. Let's get into today's video. Number 1, taking responsibility. People in mature relationships recognize the amount of work needed and the difficulty of cultivating a healthy relationship. And they take responsibility for the quality of the relationship without blaming the other person for the lack of health at the time if it has slipped. They own their ability to make choices and take responsibility for their reactions to whatever might be happening or whoever is doing anything else in their lives. A little bit like the Wayne Dyer quote that says, "How people treat you is their karma. How you react is yours." And what this looks like for food, your body, and you is that you recognize that it's your overconsumption of calories and, frankly, willful ignorance of the energy balance principle. You know it's hard, but taking responsibility for the work and doing what is necessary to pay attention to these things is the best way to maximize your energy, health, and well-being. And that is the reason that you do them. Not because you should or because you have to, you do it because you want to, because it is best for you. Trait number 2, being emotionally mature. This is being able to find calm under stress. Not that you never experience stress, that is impossible, but being able to access calm simultaneously so as to navigate the situation appropriately rather than just react emotionally. This is having the internal skills to manage a spectrum of emotions in many different circumstances, especially tough ones, and always looking to improve on this skill set, which improves all areas of life. This requires someone to develop a good understanding of themselves to first navigate emotional situations for best outcomes, as opposed to just unloading them on whoever or whatever is nearby, including yourself. So in regards to food, your body, and you, it's very common for people to emotionally eat when people are feeling any uncomfortable emotion that they want to get away from. Being mature is doing your best to notice if your body is actually hungry or you just want some sensory stimulation to distract you. The better you understand what makes you tick, when and under what circumstances and with which people you are most likely to make choices that do or don't support your intentions, the better you're able to change those situations to your natural advantage. Ignorance here is not bliss and never helps. It will only lead you into situations that will see you fail. So the key to success with building this trait is a consistent intention of living from your higher dimension of self-awareness. To be conscious of yourself, your environment, your choices, and their consequences, positive and negative. Trait number 3, emotionally mature people and relationships take the time and space to use empathy rather than judgment. There's nothing more destructive than judgment to cause disconnection between partners. Judging them as bad or wrong just sets up an adversarial energy that makes them someone to beat, not to love. But by stepping into their perspective and really connecting to what brought them to this reaction or conclusion promotes the energy of alliance with which you join together to navigate any issues powerfully. It's very common for people to judge themselves about the choices that they make around food and exercise. Every time they slip up on a diet or don't work out when they intended to, or whatever it might be, they disconnect from themselves and start beating themselves up, calling themselves names and putting them down, making themselves wrong and bad. This just lowers their self-esteem and confidence in themselves to do better next time, putting them in a worse position to do better next time. The unconscious thinking around this would be that if they punish themselves enough with insults, that they'll be motivated to avoid the abuse and be good in future. But as it turns out, this almost always does the complete opposite. So to effectively get yourself to do more of what you want to do, you need to be as connected as possible to yourself. Instead, a mature approach is to understand what led you to the decisions that you would rather have made, and then coach yourself on how to make decisions that serve your better intentions. Trait number 4. In mature relationships, the individuals own their mistakes rather than blaming others or circumstances. It's not that they don't make them consistently, as we all do, but they recognize their part to play in everything. When someone takes this perspective, they actually empower themselves to do something in every situation, since they see their role in them. A mature relationship with your diet doesn't mean never making mistakes. It means owning up to those mistakes, recognizing them as mistakes you made, learning from them and moving on. Not getting hung up on them and blaming yourself, but just acknowledging them. The more you do, the more power you have to act differently when the situation comes up next time. Downplaying it as not a mistake or not so bad has the potential to open up more space in your diet or routine for the behavior to happen again until it is sneakily slipped in to where it seems uncontrollable. Deflecting the blame onto others disempowers you and means that you won't have learned what actually caused it within you and a better way to deal with it next time. If it's someone else's fault, you can't fix that or do better on their behalf. Trait number 5, unafraid of vulnerability. As the saying goes, courage is not the absence of fear, but acting in spite of it. Sometimes it can be scary to open up and to recognize our weaknesses, especially to an intimate partner. But it's also something we all share. Strong people call themselves out on their shortcomings and what they need to improve on, and have the internal security to be honest with themselves and others about it. Denying weakness is for weaklings. Looking your weakness in the eye and acting in spite of it is strength. Not needing to be perfect in front of others and opening up in this way builds trust and shows you're not out to deceive them, and it allows deeper connection and authenticity. In regards to food, your body, and you, when you admit and own your weak moments, for example, going to family gatherings with lots of food, or getting takeout with your partner, or maybe while you're by yourself at night after dinner, you can get real with yourself to make and maintain the changes needed. When you're able to simply be with your weakness, you can move beyond them by first moving beside them. You're not perfect and don't need to be to move forward in life. Mature relationships with the body recognize what they need to work on and are not afraid of owning that and working on it. We are all a work in progress. Trait number 6, recognizing and accepting needs. The better you know yourself, the better you can address your own needs and watch out for burnout or other avoidable troubles. It's one thing to have the awareness to recognize your needs, but also having the humility to accept them is important. Sometimes there might be shame or some other kind of resistance to accepting the need, but ultimately, the mature individual knows that they must accept their limits and work within them until they build the strength in that area and are ready to go beyond them. When someone is in denial about the fact that they need a little help or a break from certain responsibilities, they will not ask for what they need and end up checking out of the relationship or situation, where if they had just been able to see and honor their needs not being met, they could have addressed them and kept growing. A mature relationship with food will include an understanding that you're not always strong and capable of being perfect.
that sometimes you need to give yourself a break, and it's okay to have a bad week, but then you can get back into it. If you don't recognize when you need to pull back a bit, you might burn out and quit altogether. Also, being honest with what you need might include doing more, that you need to do more activity or to cut down on an all-consuming hobby that wastes time you could be bettering your body. Living in denial about what is truly needed will only leave you feeling confused and incompetent. So the last of the healthy traits that we're going to discuss here is that mature relationships have healthy boundaries. This means that they live according to chosen principles, to character, to beliefs, and that their choices align with who they want to be. They make sure that they are who they are in front of anyone and have standards that they are not going to compromise or let others compromise. They don't just bend to whatever suits the moment. They choose to be kind and considerate towards one another, even if they don't have to, because that is how they choose to be. And being inconsiderate and mean just because they're in a bad mood is crossing the boundaries of who they are. They believe that their partner is worth treating well, even if they're not treating them well. They also give them space when they need it, allowing them time to process things if needed and to take care of themselves. Also, they don't take crap from each other. If they are being unreasonable, they will make sure the other knows about it in a loving but firm way. They have a healthy self-respect and will stick up for themselves if needed. In regards to food, your body, and you, a mature relationship with food, yourself, and your body includes living according to principles you choose to live by. Ones like respecting your body and its needs, and doing the best for it as often as possible, and to not just gratify every urge the body may have, because they know that it's not good for them. They also give their bodies the rest it needs and say no to situations they know are not going to help them be their best physically. They also have learned what is too much for them to commit to in terms of diet and exercise and what is too little, and they honor that. Then, when they've grown and they are more able, they are honest with themselves about that, and then they do the more that they can. Also, they are loving but firm with their direction to themselves about what needs to be done, and they set boundaries to become and remain healthy. So there you have the key
7 traits of the healthy relationship with food,
reflected onto our weight loss and maintenance journey. And you can be more empowered now to identify some areas of improvement for yourself and start moving towards the most beneficial way for you to relate to your body, yourself, and food.
So if you're looking to learn more about relationships with food, I've got a video on the 7 unhealthy relationships with food, which I'll link to down below and at the end. And that way you can be aware of what to look out for to try and avoid. Click like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.